What is up, YouTube? After an 8-month hiatus, I am back. I'm gonna make a couple videos, not like the videos that I made previously, which are about fitness and mental fortitude and daily routines. I am switching gears temporarily to tackle an issue which I think is at the forefront of everybody's mind, which is why does everybody feel so much stress and anxiety and like they're out of control or things are out of control or the world is just going to this really dark place? And I am not here to put out a conspiracy video. I'm not here to put out a negative video. I'm not here to bash anybody. What I am primarily here for is critical thinking, and just to give you a couple things to think about that you probably already know, but you're going to go, I never thought of it that way. So without further ado, what are a couple reasons that I think that people are so stressed out? And this will be a multi-part series, but let me just cover the nuts and bolts here for about 10 to 15 minutes because I know that's really all people want to watch before they click to something else. So let's first talk about information and your ideas. Is what you think and the actions you want to take actually the actions that you want to take? And I bring this up because we live in the social media age. And social media, as we know, it is not what it started as. Facebook, right? The most common social media that everybody knows after MySpace, of course. Facebook was just meant as a platform for college students to talk to other college students. Hey, this is what I'm doing. This is where a party is tonight. This is what's cool. This is what's not cool, etc. And now we know, not through conspiracy theories and not through people like me reading articles or people like you listening to all this stuff on the internet, there's been documentaries made by award-winning filmmakers about what social media actually is right now, which is a revenue stream to sell advertisements, to sell products, and also to sell your information to other people. So we're very aware that this is happening, yet we still spend way too much time on our phones with our face just doom scrolling, not realizing that that's what these individuals want. And you might not even be aware that the way that you're scrolling and the way that you're using social media and what you're clicking on, obviously everybody knows about the algorithm, which they keep very hush hush on what goes into the algorithm, but it is actually manipulating your brain and possibly your thought patterns and possibly your daily processes. So why do you feel this sense of anxiety and that you're not in control? It's honestly because they don't really want you to be in control. Social media is put out there and it's advertised as this platform to say whatever you want, get your voice out there, get your ideas and opinions out there, start your business. It's like you are your own Hollywood star, right? I am my own Hollywood star right now, and you're taking this information in. However, what they're not telling you is in order to use these platforms, you are also taking in information. Every time I log onto my phone, and I'm sure you see this too, it is like, do you want to log on through your Google account, through your Gmail, or do you want to log on through this profile? So now instead of the old method of having a username and password, everything is linked through some central hub, which is typically like your Gmail. In my case, I don't know how it is for other like Yahoo or MSN or AOL, whatever's out there. But that hub and spoke model means all the information that you're looking at on your phone and all the stuff you're going through is going into a central hub that's collecting data on you. This is known. What I'm telling you, though, is what you don't know is how much that is manipulating your daily thought process. Think about this right now. Don't think of yourself. Think of a friend. think of a friend that before they really got into social media, maybe like let's take it back like 5 years ago. This was a friend that you would interact with at the gym or at the bar or see at social events, and you considered them a friend. And then somewhere in the past 1 to 3 years, they all of a sudden latched on to their ideology, which usually in a negative context is like their political ideology or just whatever they think about some topic, whatever button issue it is, whether it's like immigration, gun control, war, abortion, all these things, right, that are very tumultuous issues. And they all of a sudden like went out into left field, right, and literally writing posts saying, if you don't believe what I believe, we can't be friends anymore. And they're not saying that like we can't be friends in the social media sphere. They're saying we literally can't be friends in real life. And that's what's happening. And that's the extreme that it's going to. And it's just crazy that people are using this social media platform, all social media, which was used as an information sharing system. And now people are planting their flag in the sand on these issues that they stand on and publicly decreeing that if you don't agree with what they think, whether it's an educated opinion or not, that you can't be friends. And so that's what's causing this major division and this major rift. I'm not saying that specifically, there's a whole bunch of other things, but the stress and anxiety that we feel, or at least that I feel, is because everything seems binary. It's black and white. You're either on this side of the issue or you're on that side of the issue. And that's because people aren't talking anymore in real life. Because when you talk to somebody in real life, when they throw out an idea or they're like, I read this or I heard this, and they go through their thought process, then they put it out to you, they're receiving immediate feedback from you going, yeah, I agree with that because I read another article that kind of says the same thing. And then you put those ideas together and you develop a consensus, or you disagree with what they say and you respectfully say, well, I think of it this way. Have you ever thought of this counterpoint? And that's how dialogue happens, and that's how people grow intellectually. But in the social media sphere, post and ghost, that's the term that they use, is people get all fired up and they make a post and then they just send it off. And the ghost part is because they're not even willing to take accountability in a not real space, a real interactive space, and they're not even going to read the comments, right? And somebody could make the point that, well, a lot of the comments out there are trash, or they're from trolls, or that creates more division. But what I'm saying is like this method of communication where you're just spitting out venom into the ether and somebody can't respond and you don't have to take in that other information and think about it, I think it's super unhealthy. So we're seeing that play out right now. We're seeing that played out in so many ways that people are planting their flag in the sand on whatever issue it is, and they're just putting ideas out there and putting their thoughts out there, and they're unwilling to accept any type of criticism. And then if you speak against what they're saying, you somehow de facto become like a pariah in their mind. And that could be on a small level of that person sharing their thoughts on one issue, or it could be on a bigger level like groupthink, right? You have a big group that all thinks the same thing, and you're standing on the outside going, whoa, 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 that sounds crazy. And you just try and step in the arena respectfully and say, I don't really know what you guys are talking about, but like this point, this point, and this point, like doesn't make sense. Even if you're saying it respectfully, like, I don't agree with what you're saying. Like, can you please like define this point of your argument or why you think this way? Or have you seen with your own eyes or experienced this actually? Or are you just like repeating sound bites from whatever somebody else says? And they get hyper offended, like crazy offended. I mean, there's videos all over the internet of literally like people have made channels like of people fighting, like physically fighting about these topics because somebody gets mad because you're saying one thing about these issues. So now people have retreated, which is what is the opposite of what I think we should do, is we should be out there having more conversation, spreading more ideas, accepting other people's ideas, critically thinking about it and coming up with the best way that we can all interact and live in the same shared reality, because the reality is that we all have to live here, whether it's in a house, a neighborhood, a community, a state, a country, and so on and so forth. That is the reality. We can't just sit back idly and sit in our own homes spitting out this information and not think that it's going to affect the world around us, and also not be willing to accept people's feedback on those issues. So that's point one that I want to make of where this stress and anxiety comes from, is it becomes from being on your phone all day. Oh my gosh, Bob said this the other day, he's unhinged. Sally said this the other day, I totally agree with them and I'm only going to side with them. And I saw the comment somebody else made, and I don't even know if we're going to go to their birthday party or whatever event they're having, because I just can't hang out with those type of people. I mean, these are just like really, really drastic measures people are taking, all because of what people are saying on social media. So I warn you and I caution you that when you get heated about something and you think the best place to put that out in the world is on your social media, remember this point. And this is a fact that I know to be true because I've studied about it and I've read about it, and people way smarter than me have said this, is you have to remember that most information, most posts that people make, and this is like the big kicker of the video, one of them is that when people put out information, it's not to help anybody, it's not to give anybody more knowledge, it's not to make the world a better place. It is self-validation that they are looking for. They are looking for validation and instant feedback through stuff that has no relevance in the world, like a thumbs up, a like, or a comment with an emoji with like a smiley face. Like, those are literally the validation metrics that people are looking at now to make themselves feel better about where they stand on their position of an idea, is a smiley face emoji. Like, if that's not crazy, I don't know what is. Moving on to the next topic of why you might feel stress, anxiety, or feel out of control is money, right? We all know money exists. Money makes the world go around. We have to work jobs and do things that we don't particularly like to make money. But the making of the money or the wanting of a certain amount of money isn't the issue that I'm talking about here. It's what you do with the money when you get it. And that money, and I could go, and I probably will make a whole nother video about materialism and banks wanting you to stay in debt, big banks, and staying broke so you're a slave to the financial system. But what I'm really talking about here is ownership. That's what's bothering me. Usually in a transaction, something costs a certain amount of money, you buy it, and then it's yours. And that is the truth in some cases in small money, such as bread, milk, gym membership, things like that. However, in the big stuff, the American dream that people are chasing, we're talking about cars, we're talking about houses, we're talking about property, we're talking about things that can generate wealth. When we start talking about those things, then we start talking about taxes. That can be a whole nother separate video, but let me just tell you real quick a story that's really recent. I just bought a new used truck because I am buying 10 acres to get the heck out of suburbia and get away from HOAs once again, to get rid of any kind of control in my life from an outside entity that doesn't know me, that just sits on some board and wants to make decisions about my life. And they don't know me, they don't know my neighbors. Sometimes they don't even live in this neighborhood or community. They're just part of a board and they're on an ego trip and they want to make rules. So I'm leaving all that and going to 10 acres, so I needed a truck. Well, here's the quick down and dirty on buying a truck, and I can get into each one of these topics individual on later videos, but just listen to this. And imagine if I was a 16-year-old buying my first car and I actually had to foot the bill. You work so you can save up money, then you get the money, which you traded your time for, and then you put that time and money into a vehicle thinking that you own it. problem one is if you don't pay outright, you got a loan on the vehicle and you're paying some high interest rate over the course of 5, 7, 10 years, however long they want to draw out that loan based on your credit score. So you don't own that vehicle. The bank owns that vehicle. Then you have to take that vehicle to the DMV where you have to pay sales tax on it. So I trade my money and my time to buy a vehicle from somebody who owns it, and I just make a transaction, barter system. Hey, or it's not barter, it kind of is. I'm not giving them like bread and water for a truck, but I'm giving them money. They're giving me an asset. And then that asset, I have to pay the state. I have to pay them sales tax on that vehicle. After I pay sales tax on that vehicle, I have to register that vehicle. And there's a laundry list of things that line items of all this money that adds up, and it depends on states. But like when I lived in the Southeast, I'm from the South, it's like less than $100 for any vehicle you buy, which is like a Lambo or a Honda Civic. Boom, they just have a flat rate. Well, here in California, and I'm not trying to rip on California because I don't know other states' laws, but here, or I do know that I just came from Colorado, and it's like in Colorado, they base it on the perceived value of the car based on MSRP. They kind of do the same thing here, but then there's all these other taxes involved. It's the same way when you look at your phone bill and you're like trying to break your phone bill down by, hey, I only talked for this many minutes if you don't have an unlimited plan, so it should be this. And then you get all those extra charges and fees, right? Like you got to pay the communication board, you got to pay the for the cell towers, you got to pay the environmental tax, you got to pay whatever it is, right? And like it's thousands of dollars that you have to pay to the DMV here in California for not even a brand new car. And I have concrete examples of that because I buy and sell cars all the time. And anytime I go there after I pay sales tax, it's like $1,000 to $3,000 just to register my car. And oh, on top of that, if you buy a truck like mine, which is a diesel, you got to get it smog checked because they have all these environmental protections. So they got to make sure that it's California compliant, which includes shit on your truck that you don't even want, such as like EGRs and DEF and all these things to regulate emissions. And so once again, not like the South where I'm from, where the first thing you do when you buy a truck is you jack that thing up 6 inches, you put 37s on it and some bumpers and a winch, and you just go out mudding, right? And it's like happy day. Well, here they're like, no siree, if you delete, which means taking all the stuff off your truck, it's illegal. And guess what? Those fines can range anywhere from like 500 to 5 grand if they catch you with a deleted truck. And it's like, man, at what point do I actually own what I bought? Now to extrapolate out further, then you got to put gas in it, right? Everybody's got to pay for gas, and we know that it differs all over the nation on price per gallon. California has some of the highest gas tax, and it's because another whole bunch of rules that have been made when we have fuel that we could pull out of the ground here, which the state of California does, but due to environmental protections, we are pulling fuel out of the ground and sending it a couple states away where you can pay half, 50% less for gas. And some of that oil, some of that fuel leaves the country. So like you don't have to be an economist to understand that that is screwed up. One, you have to pay more than anybody else in the country to register your car. And two, when you go to the gas pump, you're paying more in fuel than the rest of the nation when you got the fuel sitting right off the coast there. And then you're telling me it's going to another country? Like how much sense does that make? So when I talk about money, I'm talking about this new idea that everybody's hearing about, which kind of falls under the top 1% want to own everything / socialism, is you're starting to hear phrases like you'll own nothing and you'll like it. And that is really, really terrifying because the foundation of our country was built on property ownership and the idea that if you worked hard and you did something good for a community, they used to give away land, right? They would give away land for you settling, coming from the East Coast and moving out west, and along the way, you know, you would get plots of land, and I'm talking huge plots of lands, like thousands of acres, hundreds to thousands of acres, depending where. And now you can't afford to buy an acre anywhere. Like it is insane because of zoning laws, right? So you have zoning laws where you have like a Costco that's sitting like right on the farmer's field that used to grow up next to, or they're building a Walmart where the parks used to be. And it's like the corporations are just taking over and buying up all this land. And oh, by the way, for some reason, we still let people from other countries come over here and buy all the properties. I used to live in one of the most beautiful places in the country, Monterey, California, which is where I want to retire because it's just so amazing. And we used to drive, my wife and I used to drive through like all these multi-million dollar homes. And we noticed one day, we're like, man, a lot of these multi-million dollar homes look empty and somewhat dilapidated. And we actually talked to a friend who is now a pretty prominent real estate agent in the area. She was just getting started back then. And I asked her one time over dinner, like, what's up with all these like multi-million dollar homes that like look abandoned? And she's like, well, Chinese nationals come over here, and because their stock market is so volatile, they come up here and just buy all these properties and let them sit. It's their investment. And I'm like, what? They can do that? She's like, yep, they can do that the same way now that they're buying up farmland. I mean, big tech in America is doing it too, but you can be in another country and have like a semiconductor business and come over to the US and just buy up a whole bunch of farmland in Iowa, start building semiconductors. And guess what? Crazy governors of some of these states will give them tax breaks. So you're paying more in taxes as an American citizen working in America than a foreign national that owns a company and builds over here and says, we're going to provide jobs, and they're getting tax breaks. It's crazy. We should be charging them for that and then redistributing it throughout the community. So it's another reason why you probably feel stress and anxiety, is because it's like you are working your tail off trying to make ends meet, and you don't know where your money is going because you're paying sky high taxes on everything. And then when you look around, everything's getting worse. Homelessness is getting worse. Drug addiction is getting worse. The schools are getting worse. The infrastructures like the road and the bridges are getting worse. It's just everything is getting worse. And all the politicians do is ask for more, more, more of your tax dollars. It's like, please show me how. I don't mind paying taxes if the stuff is getting fixed. Please show me how these policies that you're creating are working in my favor. And I just really don't see it. Lastly, I want to touch, to just wrap this all up in a bow, is time. That is like why most people are extremely stressed, because let's say you had all the money in the bank, and well, not all the money, because I'm assuming we're still going to have to work. So you have a lot of money in the bank, you've saved up for your 401k, you're on the right trajectory to retire with an amount of money that you probably don't have to rely on Social Security, and your kids are taken care of. Still, your time commitments, if you work a 9 to 5 or more, it's like between work and sleep, a lot of time already gone. Then you talk about kids. Then you talk about a relationship like a marriage. So, like, now you're balancing your life, your marriage life, your family life, your work life. And on top of that, everybody has things sprinkled in that they got to do. The kids have cheer, the kids have soccer, they have birthday parties that they need to go. Your wife's in a book club, or she's working as well. She has other commitments. She has the honey-do list that you got to take care of. And like you, and I'm speaking from the male perspective, the roles could be reversed, because this is the same for women as well, especially because women are like usually taking care of the kids, which is the hardest job in the world, right? And I'm not trying to get into like the patriarchy and all that bull crap. People can divide and conquer however they want to in a marriage. Like my wife and I, we split dishes, we split chores, we split who's making dinner, we split driving the kids. It's like kind of a 50-50. And sometimes it's like somebody has to pick up the slack, and it's a 60-40 or a 70-30, and that just works for us. But other people might be in a traditional marriage, which, hey, no hating on that. It worked for a long time. And if it works for them, sometimes the wife quits working and just says, hey, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, hardest job ever. Dad goes out and works, or vice versa. But there's no time left. Like, you sit in your bed at the end of the night and you're like, oh, I got 10 or 20 minutes. I should be going to sleep, but I want to scroll or watch the rest of my show. And it's so like there is zero time left. So now you add all this stuff together at the end of the day when your head hits the pillow, you're like, I have no time left. I'm trying to get my bank account right to where I feel secure. And I'm trying to cross the bridge of all these commitments and holding all this stuff together. Yet, no matter how hard you work, there's not enough money. And no matter how hard you work, there's not enough time left in the bank. And it's just leaving all of us feeling exhausted. And it's like, when is this going to stop, and when is something going to change? The change actually occurs when people leave jobs that they don't like or they become an entrepreneur. But let's be honest, most people can't leave their job security because right now with AI coming out, it's taking a lot of jobs. I know people that have 1 or 2 master's degrees with 20 years work experience underneath their belt, and they get let go by a tech company and they can't find a job. They cannot find a job, and they've already built a lifestyle that isn't lavish, but it's like both the adults have a car. Maybe they got a kid that's 16 that has a car too. They have a mortgage. They got to keep the lights on. And it's like, we know this as a fact. The wages have not caught up to the cost of living because everything now, everything from energy, from electricity to water to gas to just going out to a restaurant and you're trying to blow off some steam on a Friday or Saturday night, a beer is like $8 to $10. A glass of wine is $14. And it's like, I want to sit here and blame the owners of the restaurant, but look, there's margins involved, right? Like they have to make their margins in order to stay a profitable business so they don't shut down. And there's all these layers that people don't think about when they're like, oh man, I can't believe a beer is $8 to $10. And it's like, well, it's probably $8 to $10 because the rent for this building is sky high, right? The electricity to keep the lights on, the utilities to keep this place going, the insurance that you have to have on the property, the insurance that you now have to pay workers if you have X amount of workers, in a small business, the state mandates that you have to pay them this minimum wage that's skyrocketing. You have to give them some kind of benefits, and it's all a trickle down effect. It's all a trickle down effect all the way down to you, the consumer, that when you sign that bill after you drink a couple of those $14 glasses of wine, the last punch in the face, the last kick to the balls is, oh, and by the way, when you use the credit card where you worked your ass off to store your money at this institution, they're going to charge you a fee for using your own money that you took out, just like an ATM fee, right? Like there used to be no ATM fees, then it was 50 cents, then it's $1, then it's $3. And now it's like if you're at a sporting event or in some place with no ATMs or they know that you need cash, it's like $5, $7, $8. We are just getting nickeled and dimed to death. And I see it clearly. If you don't see it and you feel all this stress and anxiety, think about these things. These everywhere you go, you are being charged. It's almost like I can't believe that they haven't even charged people to like breathe air yet. And I was making a joke the other day while I was thinking about the content of this video, and I'm like, I was out on a hike in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, I'm surprised they haven't made hiking illegal, just being out in nature, not illegal. I'm sorry. I'm surprised they haven't charged for that yet. I was wrong. I was wrong. And that's the conclusion of this video. It is not free anymore. Anywhere you drive around now, parking, not free in the city. Got to park in a parking garage. You pay taxes for all these roads and all this infrastructure. Still got to pay to park. Still got to drive down the street and pay tolls when you drive down the street to go to that nice hiking spot. And then you finally get to that hiking spot where you're going to get some peace and quiet, and you park in a gravel parking lot in the middle of nowhere. And there's a big sign there that says, please insert $3 to $5 for this parking fee for the state. Oh my God, where did all my tax money go that I paid from income tax, property tax, DMV, tax on this, tax on that, and then I'm finally doing the activity that I thought I paid for and it should be free, and it's like, nope, you got to pay me again. And we are just getting nickeled and dimed to death. We are in a slow spiral, or maybe now an accelerating spiral of blue collar workers and white collar workers have pretty much now like kind of joined, and now it's really like the elites and us scraping at the bottom of the barrel. The fact that you got to make like $100,000 just to live this day and age is actually crazy. When you look back just 30 or 40 years ago, you could make like combined income of like $75,000 with the typical firefighter and teacher, and you could own a home, you could own a car, your kids could go to college, and you had job security and you were living in the American dream. I'm scared it's dying. I think other people feel the same way. Those are just some of the thoughts that I have, and I'll put some videos out later on other specific issues. But if you think you're going crazy, you're not going crazy. The world is going crazy around you.